Hey guys, welcome back. BDCKR here. We're back with our weekly recap of all things Injustice. This is for the week of August 7th, 2025. We are recording this a little bit in advance, so this I think should be going up no matter what, but you will be able to check in the description if any of the information we got was wrong. We're hoping, and we think it's pretty likely that this will all be good, but check there first.
So we can see the multiplayer reward in the online fighting, but we cannot see the current challenge because it's the day before that challenge comes up. We're doing this based on the best information, and here we go.
Yeah. So the current challenge is Darkseid Prime. The required characters of that are Cyborg, Catwoman, and Black Adam, who are available at Bronze, and Silver, respectively, at their lowest tier that you can get each of them. His passive is Empower Minions, which is all bronze characters on Darkseid's team gain plus 300% health and damage. He starts with 1,050 attack and 1,200 health. He was last available on July 25th of last year.
Mm-hmm. And we did do a detailed review back in the season of Lost Challenge characters when he came back after a long absence on February 13th. Yeah.
Of, again, 2024.
Right. So it's interesting. He looks like he's got decent to lowish stats. But when he was released, he was among the highest stat characters. His stats were so high that the best defensive team for drawing fights was Shazam Prime, Godfall Superman, and Darkseid Prime.
Mm-hmm.
Because, so we knew, all right, so we assumed, and we know now that multiplayer matchups are based on calculations using the stats of your team. As you go higher in a ladder, the stats of your opponents will increase. So at that point, there were a handful of characters that had higher stats than everybody else, right? Shazam, Godfall, Superman, Darkseid. Then if you had a team made up of those higher stat characters, the default matchup at the end of an ultimate ladder with teams that are at or near the top would be this team.
Mm-hmm.
So this team has zero synergy. They do nothing for each other. They don't get any better because they're with each other. But by virtue of drawing a large number of fights and winning a small percentage of them, and our best season of that was maybe winning 10% of the fights, but we drew 1,000 battles. Mm-hmm. That was our best season ever. You could generate a lot of defensive wins, and each defensive win was worth twice as many battle points as offensive wins. So each of those 100 wins was worth 10,000 battle points.
Yeah, so you're getting the equivalent of, 200 fights,
right,
just for having that team in, which is a huge amount.
Yeah. And so this was pre-augmentation, pre-breakthrough. So this was, the limits were level 50 elite 7.
Yeah.
So Empower Minions is an interesting passive. All bronze characters in Darkseid's team gain plus 300% health and damage. That means their effective health and damage are 4 times what it should be. And one limitation, the boost to bronzes, you think it makes them as good as just below a very low tier gold. Mm-hmm. Because if you compare, say, a 210 health, 210 attack Nightwing, if you're boosting it, that becomes his base stat becomes 840 and 840. And Regime Black Adam has base stats of 750 and 750. But comparison is not right because golds increase their stats at a different than bronzes when you promote them. So if you look at bronzes, if you go from Elite 0, which is their base stat, to Elite 7, you're getting 2.4 times. Yeah. And if you get them to Elite 10, that's 3 times. But if you did that to Silver, it'd be 3.8 times or 5 times instead of 3.
Yeah, so 3 times, when they're fully maxed out at Elite 10, 3 times the stats for bronze, 5 times the stats for silver, and 6.5 times the stats for gold.
Yeah.
And that sort of Elite 7, you go from 2.4 times to 3.8 times to 5 times for bronze, silver, and then gold. So
that maxed out bronze at Elite 10 becomes something like an Elite 5 silver or an Elite 3 gold.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why that's a limitation is if you max promote Darkseid and you put him on a team with bronzes, it's going to be unbalanced. And Darkseid stats, which when introduced were already high, puts him at a much higher level than his bronze teammates. So the main offensive threat needs to be Darkseid because you're going to be facing a team that's going to be matched against you based on his stat more than the bronzes.
Yeah, I think the real advantage is to bring bronze characters through like offline play and have them behave approximately comparably to, or to be able to hold their own in a higher stat fight than they would otherwise. But that's not a huge benefit. It kind of lets you, because there's a lot of fights where you can just take one really good guy through, right? And then take two weak guys and just drag them along with. So this it's not unique, but it lets them all be slightly more useful, I guess.
And we talked a lot more actually about this. I realized, because different things, I get different impressions each time when I'm playing with different characters a lot, that the bronze characters, when you try to use gears to promote their attack or health, you're getting less benefit of it because it promotes their base stat, which doesn't change, not their modified stat that you get as a result of Darkseid's passive. And if you look at Darkseid himself, like, so we've established basically that Darkseid is going to be have the stats that the opposition is going to be based on, the matchup they're going to pick for us. His damage stat, for his given damage stat, he gets about the same amount of damage out of special 2. And if you look at other characters with a similar damage stat, their special 2 that doesn't have a damage over time effect or any other status effect does about twice as much damage. So you're reducing his special 2 damage by half. The wiki says the actual damage is a few percentage points higher than stated. And in normal circumstances, damage over time should make up for it if the opponent doesn't tag out and rinse it. But additionally, the added problem with Darkseid is that his special 2 won't complete if blocked. There's 3 hits. If it doesn't complete, you only get 2 hits. The third hit does a significant amount of the damage. First problem. Second problem is it also triggers the damage over time. So if he doesn't do the third hit, you lose out on a bunch of damage. You also lose on damage over time. It is super weak. It is, in my impression of it, is that it's weaker than doing a blocked special 1. Previously, we did a team with Nightwing and Hawkgirl as teammates, which is decently effective, but relies a lot on Nightwing doing damage over time that scales the opponent. Otherwise, he's not going to offer very much offensive potential, or not enough, despite the passive from Darkseid. And so that team, we'd still run the same problem that we're seeing this. So this time we're leaning completely into having 2 bronze teammates without Hawkgirl, and it still works, but not as well. And that's a reflection, I think, of Darkseid's limitations as an offensive threat, which is not negotiable with 2 bronzes unless you keep his elite level low enough to give you more equitable matchups so that the bronze characters can maybe pull a little bit more of their weight. Yeah. Which is sad, because if you've had your account long enough and you've done what we've done sometimes, you promote Darkseid a little too far. In this account, we only
can't go back.
Yeah, we got him up to Elite 5, still too high.
So there we go. So we are confident but not sure because there's a shakeup to the challenge cycle. So our guess for next week is Earth to Hawkgirl, but we don't know for sure.
Right.
Moving on to the multiplayer rewards, we have the Astro Force, which becomes Astro Harness. Its abilities are, when it's maxed out, on any special attack, applies electric damage over time, dealing 10% of special damage for 5 seconds. On a lethal hit, a 75% chance to trigger Power Shield that will absorb damage up to 40% of max health. And then the Evolved ability, which is really kind of good enough by itself to make the other stuff not super relevant, which is invulnerability for 5 seconds at health thresholds 100%, 50%, and 10%. It was last available on the 2nd of January 2025. There's been a little bit of deviation with this too, but with a slightly higher confidence level, we expect next week to be Quake Engine.
Right. Okay. So this is the platonic ideal of a defensive tank gear. Like you said, the first 2 abilities, okay, not bad. Not special, really.
Yeah.
Not game-changing. 10% damage over time that takes 5 seconds to complete, okay. 75% chance to get an extra 40% health is also okay, but 75% is not 100%. And if you're hit with a hard enough special, it doesn't compartmentalize.
Yeah, it's not like a revive where whatever hit takes you to 0
Right.
only takes you to 0 and then you get that extra health. It's essentially just a bigger health bar.
Right. So if you're lucky enough in the 75% chance to get the extra health, but the hit that takes you down is enough has enough damage to take care of that 40%, it all goes on the one hit.
But who cares? It doesn't matter how they could be awful. They could basically not exist as passives.
So the real key is that it's the invulnerability for 5 seconds. You get it 3 times. Tanks, are meat shields that can buy some time for a specialist to tag out and wait until they can tag back in, which is critical if your team's damage output relies on Tainted Totem and you don't do enough damage to knock out your opponent and you don't get your power back. Often the best slot for your Astro Harness character is outside of the first slot, so you have more control over when the first invulnerability triggers. You're seeing that on this team with Flash, who's second in line. There's nothing quite as satisfying as tagging your Astro Harness tank at the moment your opponent is ready to waste 3 bars of power on you doing a super that doesn't touch you at all.
Yeah, it's a great gear. It is good enough to be annoying when you fight against it.
Yeah. Because we're filming this early, we're not going to be able to do anything about the store because that usually triggers later on Thursday afternoon.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to Phantom Zone, there is 1 week left of that. Fight 62 is still broken. Last weekend's breakthrough for golds was Lex Luthor, Batman, and Doomsday, so we expect this upcoming weekend's to be Bane, Killer Frost, and Ares. We also have a link in the description to a thread from Devlin16 that goes over the breakthrough cycle on the subreddit if you want to check that out for yourself.
Right.
Now moving on to current glitches. This is the first week of the month, so we are going to go into more detail about all of our glitches. There is a complete playlist called the Current Working Glitches playlist that you can check out that has instructions on how to do all of these. This is just us going through what's working, what's not, some additional tips if you're having trouble. This is just sort of our additional notes guide.
Right.
So starting off with not working glitches, this is stuff that you might remember doing, stuff that you might want to look for. Is this still working? And it's harder to look for a negative, right? It's harder to look for a list of stuff that has been patched, except we're putting one here for you. So you're welcome, I guess. So this is stuff that you want to do but can't. There's no working glitch for power credits. In season 6, episode 9 of our Q&A, we talked about a glitch that some people were using at the time that involves being logged in simultaneously into one account on 2 devices. We do not recommend either being logged into multiple accounts on one device and swapping back and forth and doing any glitch that requires that, or being logged in at the same time on multiple devices on one account.
Yeah, both are big liabilities.
Both are big liabilities. They can mess up your account in ways that are really bad. They used to be able to auto-detect it for bans. I don't know if they still do. And there is ways that it can screw up your data permanently. Like it will like lock you out of getting a character forever. It might even lock your account if, a character comes up. It's bad.
Yeah.
And if there's any risk of that happening, right, the advantage is that you get stuff that you want in your account. And if the risk is that you lose your account entirely, we think that there's never anything that makes that risk worth it.
Right. Glitch for getting repeated past multiplayer season rewards is not working. The glitch for early multiplayer season rewards is not working in a way that's exploitable, although it's happening sometimes to people accidentally and they're getting the wrong reward. They're not ranking high enough at the moment that it triggers, so it's not anything useful. There's also no glitch to get through Phantom Zone quickly other than our strategies, and you can see that in our speed runs where we've done some really quick Phantom Zone at the top crystal level.
Mm-hmm.
The glitch that used to let you get the free energy without watching the video, also not working. It's separate from the time shifting for free energy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it for not working glitches, the significant ones.
Yep. Moving on to the working glitches, the glitch to let you play Phantom Zone repeatedly is still working. The challenge reset method that requires Google Play Cloud Save is probably, we believe to be working, right? Yeah. Normally we'd say we tested it. We have not tested it because we haven't had the opportunity to test it.
With Darkseid Prime, yeah.
We're day too early. Yeah, it's working as of filming this.
Right.
We're expecting in the next 24 hours that nothing significant is going to change.
But Phantom Zone works still, and that's basically the same glitch.
Yeah. The common problems that you will get when doing this glitch is if the cloud icon, like the cloud save icon, doesn't appear, it means that you're disconnecting from Wi-Fi too early. And if the progress remains and the cloud icon is appearing, it means you're disconnecting too late. So if either of those things are happening, you know why, and it's just a question of sort of honing your technique and your timing to get that to work.
Yeah.
We also have a comment in the description from a user that gives steps on how you can move your data around if you're being required to download a lot of data every time you clear your app data. Yeah. So this lets you use extra space on your phone as opposed to extra sort of internet bandwidth, which especially if you're on a data connection instead of Wi-Fi, or if your Wi-Fi is slow, is pretty bad.
Right.
The breakthrough glitch to let you play it repeatedly is still working. The airplane mode / refund glitch is working. That's just good for any pack with random drops that doesn't require an internet connection. It also works with last laugh tickets. It doesn't work in Phantom Zone. It doesn't work if it's a random drop on like a paid pack, for example. Anything where they're communicating with the server in order to do it, you can't re-roll it.
Right. And we strongly recommend against doing a variation of the airplane mode glitch. We do it with
the variation where you switch between accounts.
Yeah, no, because we do it with clearing account data. Takes a little longer, but safe.
Yeah.
Some people do a version where they switch between accounts, and that's what you mentioned earlier about flipping back and forth between accounts on the same device. You can mess up your account pretty badly that way.
Yeah.
Time shifting still works on Android for unlimited survivor play and energy recharges. Important reminder, return your countdown clock back to normal before you finish. It is the number one reason why people's games don't have events showing up. And when I say events, I mean when the challenge is supposed to appear, it doesn't. When Phantom Zone is supposed to appear, it doesn't. Biggest reason, messed up your countdown clock. Time. And you were connected back to the server when you did it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Last but not least, in between not working and working glitches, the promotion glitch where you can promote characters that are still locked hasn't had the right conditions since update 2.14, so it's not testable, it is not usable, but it has never failed us technically. So it's here on that technicality, and theoretically, if it were to come back, like we've said, our sort of pitch for why we should be allowed to include it, not that anybody can stop us, is that it's good to know about it, so if the opportunity arises, you'll be able to take advantage of it, because it doesn't necessarily stick around for very long when it is there.
Yeah. So
that'll do it for this week. To finish up, we'd like to give a huge thank you to our lovely patrons on Patreon.
Yeah, that would be Michael Devries, Irvin, Ruiz, Hoshi 127, Nora Klimek, and Miguel, who are supporting us on the credited level.
There we go. Thank you so much for your support. Thanks so much to all of you for watching. We'll see you next time. Komoda.